All right, today we are looking at law of cosines, probably the hardest thing that we're going to do all chapter. And what's hard about this is that we have to figure out what they're asking for and label our triangle correctly. Yesterday we did law of sines, and that's a ratio. So we've been given something that has both a corresponding side and angle, and then we're asking for another one. In today's lesson, we are not given something where we can make some ratios. What we're really given is we'll be given a side, then an angle in between them, and then another side. And if we're given that, then we're going to be able to solve for little a. Notice we've got the big little b and little c, big A. If we're given that, we'll be able to solve for the side across. If we're given all three sides, we will be able to solve for an angle. So that's what we're working on today, is either we are given a side, angle, side, and we're able to solve for the side across, or we're given all three sides and we're able to solve for an angle. None of these are allowing us to do a proportion, which is what law of sines would be. Let's look at our first problem, and we're just going to read it through and then talk about what we need to do. So we've got triangle LMN with angle L being 104 degrees, LM being 48, and LN being 29. So first we have a side, then an angle in between, and then a side, which means we can do law of cosines. And we are going to find MN to the nearest 10th. Now, what we're going to do is anytime we need to find something, we're going to label that as our A, okay? Because we're finding the side, we're going to label that as little a. Remember, little a, little b, and little c are across from our big angles. So little a is across from, I'm going to label this as angle A. And then I'm going to label angle B and C. I'm also going to label little b. Little b is across from big B, and little c is across from big C. So now that I've got everything labeled, I'm able to put it into this equation where we're just finding the missing thing. And because we already have two sides and an angle, we're easily able to do this. So let's put these in. In this equation, it says the side we're looking for, we're labeling that as a squared, is equal to the side across from b squared, that is 29 squared, plus c squared, which we've already labeled c as 48, minus 2 times b, which is 29, times c, which is 48, times cosine of 104. Now, we are going to put it into our calculator exactly like this. If you can write it like this, you can put it into your calculator exactly like this, and we don't have to be writing down everything. Here's one thing that I need you to notice. If you are writing things down, cosine of anything over 90 is going to be a negative number. Cosine is only positive between negative 90 and positive 90. This is over 90, so it's going to end up being a negative number. That's okay, that just makes that a plus. It's not really a big deal. I'm going to put this into my calculator exactly like I wrote it. So I'm writing 29 squared plus, that's not a plus 48 squared minus 2 times 29 times 48 cosine of 104. Exactly like I wrote it. It's going to give me a number. That is what a squared is equal to. A squared is equal to 3818.5. And then we're going to take the square root of that. Remember that the square root is above our x squared. Notice it's in blue, so you push second blue. And then you can either type that number in, or notice the answer is above my negative sign. See how it says answer? And it's blue, so we push the blue button, push answer, and it's in there, and we just push enter. So our side A is equal to 61.8. And we are not given units, so it's just equal to 61.8. The next one I'm going to have you do. I'm going to set it up, and just so that we can see how we're supposed to set it up, what we think we should be doing, and then you will be on your own. Of course, the answer will be there for you to be able to do the problem, but first we're going to set it up. Let's use hot pink. We have lengths of two sides of a triangle are 8 and 10, and the measure of the angle in between them is 40. Remember, that's key, that I have to have a measure of an angle in between. So that is 40, and then I have 8 and 10. And then it wants to know, what is the length of the third side? So we are going to label this. Remember, when we're looking for the length of this third side, we are going to label that as A. That means the angle across from A is big A. Doesn't matter where I put B and C today. So C is across from big C, and little b is across from big B. Now you are going to solve that problem. If you need extra help with it, I have an additional video for you to watch, but first you are solving this and I'm giving you the answer so that you can check your work. All right, so here's the work that I did. Push pause if you need extra time to check and make sure that your work is correct. Our answer is 6.4. On to the example where we have all of our sides. Again, if I have all of my sides, I can rearrange this equation to get to an angle. And that's what we're going to do. Still labeling our triangle ABC, A being what we're solving for. So we have triangle TUV, find the measure of angle T. So I am putting a big A at angle T because that's what I'm solving for. Again, labeling little a across from it. Then I have big B, big C, across from big B is little b, and across from big C is little c. Now we're going to write our equation. Our equation is a squared, which I have, so 7.1 squared is equal to b squared, 4.4 squared, plus c squared, 6.7 squared, minus 2 times b, 4.4, times c, 6.7, times the cosine of a. We don't know a. Now, I feel like sometimes we have a hard time identifying what we're solving for when we have sine and cosine. Notice all of these are numbers except this. We are solving for that. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to put all of these as numbers. You are also going to be doing that with me so that we can see what we need, what we have to do. So 7.1 squared is 50.41 is equal to 19.36 plus 44.89 minus, and I'm going to put all of this together, 2 times 4.4 times 6.7. And that is 58.96 cosine of A. Again, we are solving for an angle. Please remember, when we're solving for an angle, we are going to be using our inverse sign, that blue sign to the -1. First, though, we have to put cosine A is equal to something, which means that I am solving for cosine A. I am solving for this. We're not just solving for A right now. We have to solve for cosine A. So in order to do this, if this was just X, you would know what to do. We're going to subtract these two numbers from 50, and then we would have to divide by this, one step at a time. So I'm going to take my 50.41 and subtract both of those numbers. You should know that basic math. That's what trips us up most of the time, but that's what we're doing. So 50.41 minus 19.36 and 44.89. It's definitely going to be a negative number. -13.84. I've taken away those, is equal to a negative 58.96 cosine A. Still solving for cosine A. We're still solving for this. If this was negative 58.96x, you'd have no doubt what to do. It's no different. We're going to divide by negative 58.96 because it's being multiplied right now. We have to divide, and we have to divide our negative 13 by the same thing. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So I'm dividing negative 13.84, divide that, can't see that, divide that by a negative 58.9, I think it's 6, and I put 8. All right. So cosine A, so notice these two, negative 58.96 on the top and the bottom, they canceled out. So now I have that cosine A is equal to 0.235. Now we can solve for A. Remember, whenever we're solving when we're solving for an angle, we have to use the inverse cosine. Inverse cosine is right above cosine. So second cosine, I'm going to do my second answer. Remember, that is where that blue button is, where it says answer. It's going to give me 76.4. So A is equal to 76.4, or that the measure of angle T is equal to 76.4. That's what we solved for. The next one you guys are going to do on your own. I'll set it up for you, and then you'll push pause, finish it, and check your answer against mine. The lengths of the sides of a triangle are, I know mine looks very equilaterally, but that's not it, 10, 14, and 15. Find the measure of the angle opposite the longest side. So 15 is my longest side, so I'm finding this angle. What that means is that we are going to label this with our A, B, and C. So A is where I need to solve. Then I can put B and C wherever. And then across from A is little a, across from B is little b, and across from C is little c. We can now plug this into our equation. Our equation on the other side is a squared. So 15 squared is equal to b squared, 10 squared, plus c squared, minus 2 times b times c, cosine of a, which we do not have. That's what we're solving for. We're going to have to do this math. 15 squared is 225. Oh, you're doing that. Oh, silly me. Push pause, finish the work, and then check your answers. All right, here's the work. So again, different colors and the answer. Now, I have no doubt that some of you are a little confused. And so if you are, then please ask questions. I also have no doubt that we have plenty of students in class and probably your substitute teacher who can help you with wherever you might have gotten slightly confused. Let's look at our examples. This one was a little difficult in my brain for me to figure out. It might be for you too. It's okay, no worries. So you and a friend hike 1.4 miles due west from the campsite. So we're going to put our 1.4. At the same time, two other friends hike 1.9 miles, 11 degrees west of south from the campsite. To the nearest tenth of a mile, how far apart are the two groups? So how far apart? I'm putting my A there automatically because I know that that's what we're asking. The hard part for me was figuring out my angle. So if we were going west and due south, it would be 90 degrees, but we're 11 degrees in. So it's got to be 90 minus 11. So this angle is really a 79 degree angle. So now we already know what what we're doing. We are going to label just so that we've got everything. We have our little a, which means that this is my big A. Doesn't matter which one I put at B and C. And then little b and little c. Now we just plug everything into our equation. So that means that I have a squared, which I don't know what that is equal to b squared, 1.4 squared, plus c squared, 1.9 squared, minus 2 times times b, which is 1.4, times c, which is 1.9, cosine of a, our angle, which is 79 degrees. 79. Guys, if I was in class, you'd be yelling at me, right? Putting all of this into our calculator just like this. Because of order of operations, our calculator will automatically allow us to do this work. So I can just put 1.4 squared plus the 1.9 squared minus 2, and then in parentheses, 1.4, 1.9, cosine of 79. So just like I have it written. I push enter and it gave me what c squared was, or I'm sorry, what a squared is. So a squared is equal to 4.55, which means that a is equal to 2.13 miles. The next two examples you are going to do on your own. I will be giving the answer first, and then if you need extra help, there will be additional tutorial for what you're doing. Actually, there will just be the worked out problems. I'm lying. I'm not going to do an additional tutorial, just the worked out problems. But again, plenty of people in this room who know what they're doing. So you are doing your extra examples. You are solving for them, showing me that you know what you're doing. Then you have homework. You are working on the cosines sheet, law of cosines, and you may have to rearrange or rename things. That's okay. You're totally capable of doing that. All right, so here are the answers to the extra problems. I have that a is actually not equal to, the a is equal to the 6.44, not that a squared is equal to that. And that a here is equal to 17.6 degrees. Now you guys have some homework to do. I know that I'm not there. It's probably not nearly as beneficial, but that's all right. You will work this weekend, and then we have a review day Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday we will have our test. So I felt like it was better for you to be able to view the video, try this on your own, and then we can answer any questions on Monday that you have. But you're doing homework tonight. It is due by the time we have class on Monday morning. If you need anything, I will talk to you on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you then.